Hello and welcome everyone on the Information Technology and Service Management PCB webinars. My name is Vlar Shala, the PCB organizer of this webinar, and today's topic is how to create an effective IT service catalog. IT service catalogs can be effective and useful to any organization or corporation, and today we will elaborate more on this issue. This webinar is going to be presented by Dr. Orlin Marino, senior consultant and partner in ITC with 20 years of experience in IT and service management. Dr. Marino is also a PCB certified trainer. Please write your question and comments in the question box in the right hand control panel, or you may use the option to raise your hand, and Mr. Orlin will answer to them accordingly. Please, Mr. Orlin, you may start the presentation.
Thank you very much. Welcome to everybody. Thank you also for giving me the chance to share my experience with creation of service catalog, quite an important topic nowadays, especially in the context of service management and also ISO 20000. I will be very happy if I receive a question. I will try to answer them probably at the end of the presentation. Now, quickly review the agenda of today's presentation. First, I will start with a common understanding of what services are, what we call services, what is the definition of service according to ETL. Then I'm going to cover the topic about who is using the service catalog, what are the other stakeholders of the service catalog, with whom you negotiate the service catalog, and so on. And finally, I will go through the steps of building service catalog, defining services, building service catalog, and publishing service catalog. To understand the term service catalog, probably the first thing which we need to understand is about what we call an IT service. Here on the red ribbon, you see the official definition of ITIL regarding what service is. This definition is sometimes confusing to some people, but I'll try to explain, because as you probably know, in the service catalog we actually have services. Service, what is most important to know about the service, that it should be related with the value the service delivers to the customer. So it means that this software system, hardware, router, and so on, actually are purchased and are managed in order to provide some kind of value to the customers. However, this value is not always clearly visible to the customers, and that's why it's important to define the services in a way that you describe which value to which customer it delivers. This value should be related with the outcomes that the customers actually want to achieve. Also, why I'm discussing this topic, because during my experience I have seen very often service catalogs that are actually a list of applications that are used in the organization, or a list of requests that actually IT is executing to the business. That's why I focus on this definition and make sure that everyone understands it, because afterwards we will discuss having this definition in mind. Because if we take a look at the software system or piece of software, actually it doesn't deliver any value to the customer, because the software is just one of the many parts of the thing which we call service. So the service is something that that is built up from processes, software, hardware, also some suppliers are involved, some people, and so on. The idea is that we should be able to identify what value the service delivers to our customer. And the second part of the definition is without the ownership of specific costs and risks. What does it mean? Now, normally the customer, the person or the unit who buys the services is not interested on the topic how much a router or hardware server costs. Rather, it is interested on what value the service actually provides and what is the price, the total price of the service, and compare the service to the price and decide whether it's worth paying for it. So to be able to define the service, we need to identify the key stakeholders in services and service management. One of the stakeholders, of course, is the service provider. Actually, this is the organization which is supplying services to different customers. Customers could be internal or external. When we consider internal customers, these are the business units within the organization of service provider, while when we consider an external customers, these are the customers from other organizations. Later on, I will go back to this topic. Then the next thing, what is very important to understand is what our customers are. This could be the business units within the organization, or this could be another organization to which the service provider is providing services. Especially in the case we are providing services to external organization, it is very important to know which exactly business unit is actually using our service, so we are able to make the service most suitable for the requirements of this unit. When we are defining the services, we should always have in mind to which customers we are providing them. Then we have another stakeholder, which is the user. Probably you make the difference between customer and user. The customer is someone who buys the service, while the user is users are the people who are actually using the service on a day-to-day basis. So the users are considered consumer of the service. They are also important stakeholders in the services. And the next stakeholder is a supplier, because as we will see later, we need also to manage suppliers within our service management initiative. Also, we may have an externally supplied services in our service catalog. So why we need to create a service catalog? Of course, the direct answer and the context of the presentation is that ISO 20000 actually requires having a service catalog and also a customer contract catalog and so on. Also, it is mentioned in ISO 27001 standard. But very often the requirement for the service, for creation of service catalog, comes from different units within the organization. For instance, when we would like to sign a service level agreement or introduce a charging with the business units of the organization or external customer, then we need a clear definition of the services. So we let the business units or our customers know for what they're paying money and what to expect from the services for this money. Then we have, it is not very often that user requires service catalog, but the users are actually also users of service catalog because they have to know for what purpose, which service they need to use. The next trigger for creating a service catalog sometimes comes from IT departments. It is very often in the organization that the IT haven't got a clear understanding about why they are doing this project, why they are maintaining these servers and other equipment. So the service catalog will help IT management to communicate to IT the meaning of service, the value the IT guys provide to the business departments. For external service provider, it is probably most obvious because external service provider should provide a list of services that it offers to his customers. So it is normally the service providers, the external service providers has already more or less something like a service catalog. The next important trigger for creating service catalog is actually coming from security or continuity, because, for instance, when we are performing a risk assessment exercise or when we are making a business impact analysis, it is very difficult to actually assess the impact of IT failure to the business without having a service catalog. I have seen examples on how, for instance, continuity manager or people who are involved in business impact analysis are trying to analyze business impact on application failure. But it's very limited because the application could be up and running, but the database server which is used by this application may have failed, and thus the business process is stopping. So the security, continuity, and risk management departments or disciplines are also very interested in creating a service catalog. Here on the red square, you see the official definition of service catalog from ITIL books, for ITIL Service Design book. And I will try to explain this in the next slides. So to summarize, the service catalog is the thing which actually relates all service provider service assets, which include hardware, software, databases, information, knowledge, people, processes, maintenance, everything what is invested in the service provider, to relate it with the business outcomes that are expected from the customers. Later on, I decided to choose a financial institution example for my presentation, because I recently completed a project for building a service catalog in such organization. So the service catalog is actually the things that relate hardware, software, and so on to the business outcomes, such as servicing, giving loans, or providing payment services, or providing in-banking services, and so on. I have seen many organizations are putting a very big efforts on creating service catalog, and they always have a very, very hard discussion what they could call a service and what is not a service from their perspective. Actually, this is a hard question and does not have a single answer. And I will try to explain some points that you can mention and think about when you are about to create a service catalog. First question is whether business processes are also services or not. Normally, business processes are just business processes, and they may run even without an IT service. But we have cases where the business process is completely executed or accomplished only throughout the IT systems or automated IT systems. So in such cases, we may also have a business process described as an IT service. Then we have a consideration whether actually the IT system could be considered as a service. Many organizations prepare first version of service catalog in a document that they describe all key IT systems. But IT system itself may be or may not be a service. If the IT system is as a functionality, as an assurance, is able to execute actually meaningful, valuable things for the customers, then we can consider IT system as a service. But this is not always the case. So very often, after you try to think for IT system as a service, you meet some difficulties related to that. How you define availability or continuity of IT system, how you relate it with the business process, which part of this business process this IT system is actually servicing, what is the relation of this IT system with other IT systems, so combining them we are actually providing value to the business. So if we have an IT system as a front-end application, then for sure we will need a database, for instance, to provide a real value to the customers. So it is not always the case that we can align the term IT system with IT service. Very often the people are discussing whether the support services could be considered as a service. For depending on customer, for instance, if a customer is buying a support services, then it could be considered a service and could be included in the service catalog of external service provider, for instance. But this is not always the case when you have an internal IT service provider where the support of the service is considered integral part of the service itself. And so on and so forth with the next topics, such as access management, whether providing access to the systems could be considered as a service or not. Probably not, because actually this is a requirement for provisioning services to the end user. So the giving rights to using the service does not provide any value to the customer. So we can go through many of these examples, but most probably I would leave this topic open for questions for the end of the presentation. So we are going to the topic how and what is the process of defining services and building up the service catalog. Here I try to compile a set of steps from my experience for defining the service catalog. First of all, we should understand the provider positioning, which is actually we should have an idea about what is the supply chain of our services to our customers. Then we need to identify the users. I just want to mention that I will cover every of these steps in more details later in the presentation. Then we need to identify users or stakeholders which are going to use the service catalog. Then, based on the users and their requirements, we define how many views or filters we have for the service catalog. Normally in ITIL, there are definitions for business service catalog, for technical service catalog, but I prefer to call them views or filters, because actually these are in reality views or filters of the full lists of services and components of the service provider. Then we need to define the services themselves. So good idea is to start from the business perspective, and I will show you an example of that. Then we need to identify the value these services are delivering to the customers. Then we compile a list of services, classify them, and agree the catalog with all stakeholders. And finally, we publish, measure, and market the service catalog to our customers and users. Now, for the rest of the presentation, I'm going to cover these steps. First of all, what is important is to understand how our organization relates to external customers, what is the relation between the service provider and the internal IT units. That's why I took an example of bank institution, financial institution, because everyone is using banking services, so the example will be probably clear. So have in mind that we have this bank called XYZ, and we have business units within these banks. For instance, we have a front office where the people are actually meeting with the bank employees. We have back office where in the background some processes are done, and these business units are actually providing bank services to the customers. For instance, we have a customer who wants to apply for a loan. Then he goes to the front office and apply for a loan. We have an IT department in the bank which is providing internal customer-facing IT services to the business units that are actually serving the end customers of the bank. For instance, when the customer goes to a bank office and apply for a loan, most probably the front office officer will enter the application in IT service, which will then be processed by back office using this service or another service. Also, we have customers of the bank who are actually using financial services, but they're not going to the branch office. And in these cases, the bank is entirely presented to the customer throughout the IT service. An example of this is electronic banking or ATM, where actually the customer is meeting technology, not a bank officer. Normally, these services are provided from the bank IT to the end customers of the bank, and that's why these services are called external customer-facing IT services. And to be able to provide all that internal and external IT services, we probably need internal supporting services, such as backup services, maintenance, probably some third-party services that are required required by the service provider to be able to accomplish his job to other customers. So this is related with the first step, understanding the positioning of the service provider, because it has a big influence on how the catalog will look like. Then we need to identify the users or stakeholders of the service catalog. So we are able to design the service catalog in a way that this is useful for all stakeholders. Here you see many stakeholders. Of course, this list is not complete, but this normally the users of catalog are the operations officers, business unit users, business units managers, all IT department, and so on and so forth. So when you are building a service catalog, have this list in mind, because these are the people who are actually is going to use the service catalog, and thus you should negotiate probably with all of them or with part of them. So that means that the service catalog is not IT thing. Very often the IT departments are trying to build up a service catalog that is only understandable by them. This service catalog does not provide any value to the business, and that's why these projects very often fail, and the service catalog does not become a popular thing in the organization. Then, based on the users or stakeholders, we may define different views or filters of the service catalog. In most of the organization, we have at least 3 views of the catalog. One are our external customer view. Normally, this catalog is described on the company public website, where these external IT services are actually marketed and presented to the potential customers of the organization. Then we have internal customer view, which are actually the services, the IT services, which are used internally by the organization and which are used by the business people in the organization. And the third view is a technical view. This is the relation where we relate technical items and technical and supporting services to the business services we are providing to our customers. I will give you an example a bit later for that. So after we prepare, let's say, design for the service catalog, how it will look like, to whom we are going to present it, then it's time to start defining the services. You can start from technical components, building the service catalog from the technical systems, but this is not always a good idea. My experience shows that you should always try to start from the business perspective. So look at the organization and what are the products or services that this organization is actually providing to its customers. I took an example from the website of one bank. Here on the website you see what banking or financial services is actually the bank is offering to its bank's customers. You see that they have segmented their service on individual clients, small business, private banking, corporate, and so on and so forth. Here you can see let's say, the business services the bank offers to its customer. So this is a very good starting point, and I will start my examples with taking one of those banking services and start building service catalog from it. I choose payment services because we have a lot of IT and technology related with the payment services. So taking in mind payment services of the organization, it is very good idea to go to the business units that are related with the payment business processes and ask them for how they categorize their business processes, or which lower level services they're using to execute payments. So normally, when we look at the payment service, we have a first categorization is related to the direction of the payment, whether the money are coming to the bank or are leaving the bank. So we have one categorization which is based on the inbound payments and outbound payments. Then normally in the bank, the business process for processing payments depend on the payment system that they are using. For instance, if the payment is international payment, then most probably they will use a business process relating to SWIFT, or for European payments SEPA, or whether the payment is made internally within the same bank, then probably the payment system in that case is the core system of the bank. And then we have a different type of payments, such as direct debit, request for transfer, utility payments, and many other type of payments. This is the business view. So we start building our service catalog by understanding what is the business view of the business services, and then relate IT services to them. The next step is to identify what value actually the service provides to the customers. Here we have a diagram from ITIL about how the value is generated and how the value is communicated to the customers. And we have different perspectives of the value of the service. First perspective is called utility of a service. It is related with what actually the user or the customers can do with the service. It is related with the functionality of the service that increase the performance of business process, for instance. And then we have another area which is called warranty of the service, and it is related on how reliable or how secure is the service. This is also an important point, because if the service does not have a required performance, then it will not provide much value to the customer. Also, having in mind, if we have a very functional services, we can we can do a lot of things with it, but if it exposes our information to whole world, and we don't have any security on it, then this service again will not provide value. That's why we communicate value in terms of utility or warranty of the service. And I'll give you two examples for identifying a value in terms of utility or warranty. Let's take a look about something which is called a payment reporting services, which provide value normally to the bank officer when the bank officer is able to determine the failed orders by automatically combining information from multiple sources, for instance from data warehouse, from different payment systems, and so on. This is the way we can communicate a value in terms of utility, of the functionality that service is providing to the customer. We may communicate also a value in terms of warranty of a service. And here the example is we have a payment processing service. I will give also an example of this later in the sample service catalog. Which service facilitate payment process and allows that all payment orders are actually processed within 1 hour. This is related with the performance of the service. So these are two examples of communicating or identifying a value of the service to the customer. And I'm coming to my example. Actually, this is very similar to the real bank service catalog, and I took two services. One is called intra-bank payment processing, in a case when we have a foreign currency exchange, and we have a payments commissions management. Also, it is used in the payment process when you have a foreign currency exchange. You see here, it is very useful that you describe the user interfaces throughout which this service could be accessed. Here you see some user interface name. Then we have a definition of the service, what actually the service does and what is the scope of the service. And it's very useful and handy for the customers and for the users to describe the key use cases of this service. For instance, processing of payments, archiving, scanning, signature verification, and so on. We may have another service which is about managing payment commissions, and here we have the same, what the service does, processing of requests for payments, of commissions, registration of payments, and so on. This is an example of, let's say, high-level definition of the IT services, which are very closely related with the business process that those services are actually supporting. But the flat list of the services is very often not enough and not very useful for all stakeholders. That's why we need to make a classification of the service. This is again a concept from ITIL, and we have. I'm providing you with this slide to set some terminology. We have something which we call a core service. For instance, here is an example of communication service, which provides the basics and the most essential part of the service to the customer. To make the service more nice or more favorable by the customer, we can provide also enhancing services to it. For instance, if we have a basis for these communication services and allow customers to being able to access it through smart devices, for instance, this could be considered enhancing services. It is very good that we differentiate between core and enhancing service to be able to really prioritize our work, to know what is essential, what is extra to the service. To be able to provide a core service, very often we need supporting services. These are technology or service desk services and so on, which are required by the core service to be able to provide a value to the customer. And that is the essential part. So we go to the classification of the services, and I will show you an example. Here we have the same services which are described earlier, but they are classified whether they are customer facing or some other type of service. In which category, for instance, first service we have, it's related to payment processing, rather the second one is related with the support of the payments. So this is a simple classification of the services from business perspective. But for the other stakeholders, such as IT people, this service catalog is probably does not contain enough details. That's why it's a very good idea to have something which is called a hierarchical services or hierarchical service catalog. For instance, if we have a payment processing service, we can take a look about, for instance, web services that automate the payment processing service, business service. And here we may describe within the payment processing service, we can describe the web services or other service components that are actually executing the payments. We may also have something which is called the supporting services. For instance, I give you an example with the backup and restore services. As we discussed earlier, we cannot always consider that the backup is a service. Rather, this is an activity that actually improves the warranty or the reliability of the service or continuity of the service. So for the technical people, it's very good that they have a definition of the technical or supporting services, as in this example we have for backup or restore services. Then after building this catalog, we need to agree with all stakeholders. Later on, earlier I described you what are the regular stakeholders of the service catalog. But what is very important is to test the service catalog, whether it allows you to sign based on its service level agreements, operational level agreements, or underpinning contracts with the suppliers. Test the service catalog whether, for instance, you can it can provide a meaningful classification for incident management, whether it is suitable for risk assessment and risk management. Also test the service catalog whether it is useful or also for financial officer to prepare a cost model or to be able to do a budgeting or charging based on this service catalog. What is important to know that you should show the different views of the service catalog only to the audience for which it is intended for. So it means that do not show the technical service catalog, for instance, to the business people. Here I compiled a list with the very often used fields in the service catalog. So if we imagine that we have our service catalogs in an Excel spreadsheet, this could be the fields which we can fill for every service. You saw part of them, but this which you see on the presentation could also be useful and are very often used in the service catalog. So this is, let's say, the structure of the service catalog or the information that we need to have for every service. So the next step is to publish and market the service catalog. Where we publish the service catalog? Normally, we publish external services to an external website, internal services to the internet portal. But what is very important that we integrate the service catalog with our IT service management suite. This is the tool set which we are using for incident problem management, service level management, and so on, and relate all of the services, either business, customer faced, or supporting services, with the configuration information from the configuration management database. And don't forget also to integrate it somehow with a web or SOA web services catalog. And the next task, because if you just create a catalog and leave it like this, it will become outdated very soon. So that's why it's good to monitor how the service catalog is actually performing. For instance, you may increase the number of services that are catalogized in the service catalog. We may measure how many users are actually know that there is a service catalog. You can measure how often the service catalog is accessed or used by the users and customer and IT community. And the most important part, put it under change control and build a process to manage service catalog, to update it, to integrate it with the service portfolio or project portfolio process, so the service catalog contain really up-to-date information for the organization, and it is known to everybody. So that was the presentation. Here is a short summary. The service catalog is one of the most important documents for the service provider because it relates everything that is in the service provider to the business outcomes that are expected from the customers. Whether it should be simple or complex, it depends on the maturity and structure of the organization. For instance, if we have a low maturity organization, then probably the very, very high level or business-oriented service catalog would not be very suitable for this organization. So the service catalog normally matures together with the increasing of maturity of the organization. I would tell you that it is not an easy task. Don't think that it will take you 2 days to prepare a service catalog. It requires a lot of effort, a lot of negotiation with many stakeholders, which you can find in this presentation. And finally, you need nice tools to somehow to help you build a service catalog, such as IT Service Management Suite or configuration management database, discovery tool, software lifecycle management tools, and so on. All those could be very useful in building and maintaining service catalog. So that was my presentation. Now it's time for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Orlin, for this great presentation. We have some questions. I will read and then you will answer.
Okay.
The first one is what should be the role and responsibility of IT while designing service catalog in banking sector?
The role, normally this is a joint activity between the IT and the business units. So for sure it is prepared with the help from the business, but it is prepared by, probably by IT, including service level managers or business relationship managers.
Thank you. The second one is speaking of business processes interpreted as a service who should be the driver for update, IT departments as a supporting chain of the business who is introducing new services.
When we are talking about customer-facing services, then most probably the leading unit should be the business unit, because the business unit is responsible and accountable for the business process, and thus the improvement of this process is the responsibility and accountability of the business units. But however, the service owner, in a case when it is from IT part, he is also accountable for managing change and improving the service under his ownership.
Thank you. And the last one is how important is the design of catalog?
Yeah, it's very important, because if you don't design it well, then you will find a bit later when you start using it, you will see that it is not useful if you don't design it well. You cannot sign an SLA, you cannot categorize incident, with poorly designed catalog, and it will impact all of your IT service management processes, because all IT service management processes are actually are working around services and the service catalog.
Thank you very much, Mr. Orlin. In the end, I want to thank all the attendees as well for taking the time out of your busy schedules and join us. We hope you enjoyed this webinar, and you can check PCB's webinar schedule in our website www.pcb.org. Just let me inform you that next Tuesday we are hosting a webinar on the topic the alignment of information security in science management using ISO 27001 and or COBIT as a framework, and defining the proper KPIs, etc. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.
Thank you also. Thank you for your attention.
Bye.